Redeemer exists to help connect Jesus to people, people to community, and community to mission. Whoever you are, wherever you are, and whatever you're tuning in with, welcome to another Bible Talk in the Redeemer community. You're in just the right place. Think about this. Why is it that we are so unhappy? Yeah, we have our moments and we act like it is all going fine and well, but why, at the bottom of all of our pursuits, at the end of the day, in those quiet moments, we are left wondering? You know, few of us actually have the possession and the means to go chase our dreams all the way out and see what it would be like if everything was fully recognized and revealed. But there are a few people that actually do have the resources and they actually do have the accolades to tell us what it's like. What is it like at the top? What is it like to succeed? What is it like to have everything you've ever wanted? Well, Tom Brady, in an interview in 2007, after winning his third Super Bowl, says, "Why do I have 3 Super Bowl rings and still think there's something greater out there for me?" I mean, maybe a lot of people would just say, "Hey man, this is what it is. I've reached my goal. I have my dream. I have my life." And I think, God, there's got to be something more than this. This can't be all it's cracked up to be. Maybe American football isn't your thing. You could think of Zac Efron in May of 2014. Efron says, "I'd done films back to back to back and I was burnt out. There was something that was lacking. There was some sort of hole that I couldn't really fill up. I was just so deep into my work that it was the only thing that I had." I mean, you're in your 20s, you're single, you're going through life in Hollywood, you know. But the result of that was actually a slide into alcoholism that led to rehab in 2013. Or you could even think of Shia LaBeouf. June 2009 says, "Sometimes I feel that I'm living a meaningless life and I get frightened. I know I'm one of the luckiest dudes in America. I have a great house, my parents don't have to work, I've got money, I'm famous, but it could all change, man. I know it could all go away." He says, "I have no answers to anything. I don't have any. Why am I an alcoholic? I don't have a damn clue. What is life about? I don't know." Why is it that some of the most successful people in the world have a hole in their hearts? Don't we have everything? Don't we have the money? Don't we have the accolades? Don't we have that success story we've been going for this whole time? Yet why? Why, for these 3 men alone, why is there something lacking? Well, it's what we've been talking about over these last couple of talks, considering the theme of renewal. How things that are dead can be brought to life, how things that are broken can be fixed, how our lives can be renewed and changed by the grace of God. You see, we do have this problem. And the problem isn't merely our sin. It's not really breaking God's law. We actually have a really deep problem, and it's called idolatry. We love things that aren't God. We even love good things, yet we make them and we elevate them to be the ultimate thing in our hearts. And the great problem is that they don't satisfy. Vinath Ramachandra, in his book Gods That Fail, quotes Psalm 115 when he says, "All who make idols become like them." We literally become the kinds of things that we spend our lives looking at and looking after. This is one of the great ideas that the Apostle Paul was onto when he sat down to write 2 Corinthians. When Paul wrote 2 Corinthians, he actually had this idea in view, that you become what you behold. What you spend your time looking at, what you spend your time fixating on, you actually take on those very qualities in your life. And I don't think we would disagree with it. Consider any of our children. When we consider our children running around the house, what are they? Well, they're just little mirror images of mom or dad. They kind of walk like you, they kind of talk like you, they even inflect words in the same ways. Over time, they'll develop some of their own sensibilities and tastes and preferences, but they are spitting images to start with. Yeah, we become what we behold. You spend a lot of time talking to people that are encouraging, you actually kind of become more encouraging. You spend a lot of time talking to someone that's just an absolute drag or a downer, and you actually take on those qualities as well. You become a bit of a drag and you become a bit of a downer. Paul says it like this, 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 17. Now the Lord is Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And we all, with an unveiled face, beholding the glory of the Lord, are being transformed into the same image, from one degree of glory to another. For this comes from the Lord, who is Spirit. Yeah, see, we were actually made for glory. We were created for glory. You were made to live in the presence of God. You were made to have a relationship with God. You were made to rule the world out of relationship with God. We were made for this. And when God's glory is not at the middle of our lives, not filling our lives up, we're gonna find other things to have glory. We're gonna find other ways of attaching ourselves to greatness. But we are at great risk. We are at great risk of wasting our lives, chasing things that are not God. And many of us don't possess the skill, don't possess the resources, and we will not have the success to get all the way to the end. Like a Tom Brady, Zac Efron, Shia LaBeouf, or anyone else who's made it, to see just how empty those moments are. We need help. And thankfully, Paul gives a wonderful word to us. You become what you behold. You actually take on those attributes. You actually take on the nature of the thing that you spend your whole life looking at. Consider how practical this is. You spend your whole life looking at football, thinking about football, getting ready for the match. It actually becomes you. You become it. So then, what happens when your team loses the match? Well, you feel devastated. Why don't you just feel a mild sense of, I wish it went better, but I can still operate today? Well, we probably spent so much time looking at it, so much time attaching ourselves to it, that in the end, it has actually started to define us, and we can't really operate without it. We think about how this goes when it comes to a spouse, when it comes to a friend, when it comes to our kids, when it comes to our jobs. We spend our lives fixating on these things, taking on the very attributes, taking on the very nature of what we look at. And it actually starts to define us in our hearts. So if the problem is looking at the wrong things, and some of these things we're talking about, these aren't even bad things. If the problem is taking any good thing and making it the great thing, the solution is going back to the great one and fixating on Him and staring at Him and allowing Him to put everything else in order. It's an invitation. You become what you behold. It's an invitation to consider Jesus. Consider this high King of heaven who went to the cross to die as a sin substitute for humanity. Consider Him and look at Him and think about Him. Consider His humility. Consider how He had all the glory and He had all the wealth of heaven, but He chose to lay His glory aside and to come and to begin this mission by lying in a trough where animals were fed. Look at His humility and allow His humility to give you humility. Consider the life of Jesus. Consider how teachable He was as a young boy. Consider how He's in and around the temple and He's busy with the Father's business. What we do is we look at that, we think about that, and that actually starts to become our story. It actually starts to define our lives as well. We consider the wisdom of Jesus. You look at Him through His adult life. Consider the words that He said. Allow His wisdom to become your wisdom. Consider the way He carried Himself. Allow His acts of love and generosity and how He could hold truth and grace and mercy all together and work it out. We look at Him and we start to become those very things as we spend our time fixated on it. You see, there is a way to change, and it's not about knowing the right things that we ought to do. The way to change is about loving the right things in our hearts. Yeah, when you think about it, God says, I will help you with this. When you read the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31, verses 33 to 34, absolutely beautiful. It says, this covenant that I will make with the people of Israel, after that time declares the Lord, I will put my law in their minds, and I will write it on their hearts. I will write it on their hearts. They will be my people, and I will be their God, and I will forgive their sins. Oh, what an invitation. How about Ezekiel 36, verse 27? I will give you a new heart, and I will put my spirit in you. I'll remove your heart of stone. I'll give you a heart of flesh. And I love this. And I will put my spirit in you, and I will move you to follow my decrees and be careful to obey my laws. Even this work of looking at Jesus, beholding Jesus, and becoming more like Jesus, even this is a grace that God gives to us. And yet He does call us to change. But the way to change isn't knowing the right things, it's loving the right things in the right way. And that's where we are. As we bring this collection of talks on renewal to a close, how do we actually bring it to a close? Well, the truth is, we never actually close the subject. We will always be talking about this. We will always be thinking about this in the Redeemer community. This was a season of considering it and going deep into these ideas, and now we move with the rhythm of these ideas as we explore other topics and other texts in the season ahead. The way forward is keeping ourselves in the love of Jesus. So we listen to the words from the apostle he loved so much. 1 John 4:18, there is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made in perfect love. So we keep ourselves in the perfect love of Jesus. We keep ourselves in remembering the renewing grace of God. And we go together in this fun summer in London.